So it's Waterford 130, Galway 320 in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship preliminary qualifier round, of course, before going into the All-Ireland Senior Hurling quarterfinals. What a win in the end for Waterford. They have knocked Galway out of the championship. Galway are officially out of the championship. They finish the championship winless. It's the first time in their history that in senior level that Galway have finished a season winless. That's an incredible statistic right there. And look, listen, it might not be the first time in their history that they finished a season winless, but from what I've seen anyway, and from looking back, that's just an incredible statistic right there for Galway at senior hurling level. What a win in the end for Waterford. They deserve full credit for this victory. In the end, a 4-point victory over Galway. Galway, of course, coming into the game, obviously on the back of that very poor display against Dublin. And in this game as well, they were equally as bad. Like in the first half, they were absolutely dreadful. Second half, they were even worse. And for whatever reason, in the final 10 minutes, once they pushed Cathal further up the pitch, they started to play hurling again. And they started to play like the All-Ireland contenders that we very much felt that they were. And you have to ask the question, like, why did it take Galway so long to get into this game? Why did it take them until the final 10 minutes to actually, win this game or not win the game, but come back into the game and play some brilliant hurling? And I know some people will say, oh, well, Waterford dropped off the pace, but Galway, we know, have some top class hurlers in there. Like Brian Concannon in particular, for me, one of the best hurlers in the country earlier in the league. He finishes the season with just a point to his name. He didn't score against Dublin. He's only got a point today. And just massive question marks have to be asked all over the pitch of this Galway side and of the Galway management, Shane O'Neill, who, they finished the season winless. It's just incredible, really, like from a Galway point of view. And like Dublin are a good hurling team. They're a good side. But, Dublin shouldn't be beating Galway. Let's be perfectly honest. And Waterford, have had their struggles this year. They've had their injuries. Tadhg de Búrca, Stephen O'Keefe isn't in there. Jamie Barron and Conor Prunty have only coming back into the side really for this game. So, like, there's all sorts of injuries in that Waterford side. And for Galway, like, they had massive chances. They even played, Waterford even played the second half with 14 men. What more can you want? And it just took them so long to get going until they pushed Cathal Mannion, further up the pitch, who obviously got a goal late on. Jason Flynn came off the bench and made a massive difference. And you have to wonder, were those substitutions and were those decisions from Shane O'Neill, were they a little too late in the end from the tribesmen? But look, listen, Waterford in particular, you have to give them so much credit. You really, really do, because, in the first half, they came flying out of traps. They were so up for this. They were getting so many men forward. Jamie Barron, was absolutely everywhere, all over the pitch, scored 4 points, won so much ball in the midfield, won so much ball in around the fence. Every time Galway tried to, they were hitting a lot of aimless long balls at different stages. And, a lot of the time it was Jamie Barron, it was Kieran Bennett, it was Shane Bennett, and of course even Calum Lyons at different stages as well, were the men to kind of, get those loose balls and of course stop Galway from attacking. So like, you'd have to give Waterford so much credit in there. Like Peter Hogan as well, I thought was fantastic for Waterford. The short hand passing as well at different stages was brilliant. Like the way they just moved the ball, the way they moved forward, it was a lot like the Waterford of last year. That was the Waterford that turned up in the second half against Kilkenny and beat Kilkenny, of course, in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. So like, just brilliant from Waterford in the first half, and like so good defensively at different stages, taking Joe Canning out of the game, who like obviously beat the record today, beat Henry Shefflin's all-time scoring record. So massive congratulations to Joe Canning. But it does seem a little bit insignificant given the fact that Galway finished the season without a win in the championship for the first time in God knows how long. So like, that's just incredible altogether, really. And Waterford were just brilliant. Austin Gleeson stood up when he needed to, had a relatively quiet first half, but stood up when he had to. Desi Hutchinson didn't score, but he was very much involved in a lot of the play. Jack Fagan obviously got that goal in the first half as well. A brilliant bit of play from Desi Hutchinson, who got on the long ball, offloaded it into Peter Hogan, who then, another short hand pass into Jack Fagan, who then, sliced it very comfortably past the Galway goalkeeper, Dara Fahy. So, like, Waterford were brilliant in those little short hand passes and just moving the ball very, very quickly. And when you build up a 12-point lead at halftime, Galway are always going to be, any team's going to be at it. Like, you're talking about it. It's going to take a tremendous amount of character to turn that around. And we seen Limerick last year, or not last year, but last week, we seen what they were made of. When they were 10 points down, they came from behind, a tremendous comeback. And like, Galway nearly did it. And there's a comment coming in there from Joseph Dawson. This is what do you think of the near comeback? Like, it was brilliant. Like, it was brilliant hurling from Galway, and that's what Galway can do. Like, that's how good they can be in the final 10 to 15 minutes. And you do wonder, like, if they had played like that against Dublin, if they had played like that for the entirety of this game, we'd be talking about Galway as All-Ireland contenders. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people had Galway as All-Ireland contenders. So just very, very strange altogether that it took them so long to really kind of step up in the game. And you've seen, like, I think confidence must have been a big issue with this Galway side, because as soon as Cathal Mannion got that goal, and look, it was a good decision by Shane O'Neill to push him further up the pitch, because he started having way much more influence in the game. But like, as soon as they done that, all of a sudden the likes of your Conor Whelans were hitting points. Brian Concannon hit a point. Jason Flynn, who came off the bench, scoring 2-1. Evan Nyland was getting on the score sheet as well from coming off the bench. So like, Galway started having way more of an influence in the game. And like, Waterford were dead on their feet. They were struggling. And I think it wasn't until I think it was Michael Kiley who came off the bench for Waterford, who hit a point, and that kind of just settled the nerves for Waterford and settled things down, because they were struggling at that point. Stephen Bennett had dropped a few chances wide. Desi Hutchinson hit one chance wide as well. So like, Waterford were just struggling to get over the line in the final 10 minutes. You could tell they were really dead on their feet. Richard Lynch says, Galway played some unreal hurling in the second half. If only they played the same in the first half. Yeah, like, and fair enough, Waterford were down to 10 men, and maybe Waterford were down to 14 men, I should say. And maybe they were dead on their feet, and maybe, like, Galway should have played like that from the start of the second half. We know how much an extra man can mean in both Gaelic football and hurling, and we just didn't see that at all from Galway. They just didn't take the same energy, for the entirety of the game, and it just took them way too long to try and turn it around. And look, fair play to them, they nearly did. They kept fighting back. Like, even after Waterford opened up a 6-point lead, obviously then you had Jason Flynn, who got another goal. He got a second goal of the game, and it was down to 3 points again. So and even at the end there, like, Joe Cannon going for goal with that late chance as well, a few different opportunities. So like, on another day, maybe they could have turned it around, but they needed to play like that from the start of the second half. And I think if you're a Galway fan, fair enough, you're happy with the late fight back, but I'd say there has to be massive question marks over why they haven't played with that same intensity, in the Dublin game, and also in this first half as well. And even at the start of the second half, like, even with even down to 14 men, like, Waterford were still outscoring Galway until that Cathal Mannion goal. I think Waterford outscored Galway 6-3 until that goal went in. So like, I mean, just massive question marks need to be asked of Galway's management, in my opinion, because look, fair enough, not everyone's going to win an All-Ireland, not everyone's going to be beaten the likes of your Limericks and whatnot, but to be so good in the league, and we know that Galway have some of the best hurlers in the country, with Joe Canning and Evan Nyland, who's come into the team, and you've Porrick Mannion in defence, and Daithí Burke, who usually plays a full-back, obviously now at centre-back, and just so much talent all across the pitch for Galway. And for whatever reason, they just haven't turned up. Like, Joe Canning he just didn't have enough influence in the game. And you'd have to wonder, was the decision to play him, up and around the full forward line and kind of drifting around the half forward line the correct decision? Because, they probably needed him more around midfield in the first half, just to have more of an influence in a game. And when you're looking past really since 2018, has Joe Canning really had a big influence for this Galway side, other than place balls and, sideline cuts and whatnot, which are, probably the best skill in hurling? But yeah, big question marks need to be asked of Galway, no doubt about it. But look, listen, fair play to Waterford, who, like Joseph Dawson says there, they were very impressive in the first half. They really stood up. They showed the quality that we know that Waterford do have. And they've certainly shown that they are All-Ireland contenders. They're into an All-Ireland quarter-final now. They'll play either Tipperary or Dublin before a potential All-Ireland semi-final with either Kilkenny or Limerick. So, like, they are definitely moving in the right direction once again. And having finished the league on a right note, you know, that was definitely the confidence boosting win that they needed, because they struggled against Laois. They were pretty poor against Clare. Like the scoreline, they were beaten by 4 by Clare, but Clare probably should have beat them by more. And Joseph Dawson says it's a joke that the matches are on Sky Sports. It should be on RTE. Yeah, they should all, you know, they should all be free to air, but I guess that's just the way it is. And Richard Lynch says disappointed with Galway this championship. Yeah, just very disappointing from a Galway point of view. You know, to finish the season winless. And like what I said at the start of the video, you know, this might be the first time ever that Galway have finished a season winless in the championship. It's senior hurling. I genuinely don't. I can't. You know, you might have to go back to the 1800s or, you know, early 1900s or something to find when they last lost a game. Because let's not forget, they were in the Connacht Senior Hurling Championship for a long time, and they were winning that pretty much every year. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of question marks. But fair play to Waterford. You know, Jack Fagan, fantastic. Jamie Barron, man of the match. My opinion, Kieran Bennett was brilliant. Caleb Lyons. I mean, there's just so much brilliance all across the pitch. And even despite Conor Gleeson's red card, they still stood up at the start of the second half, which was very, very impressive to get the victory. But anyways, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll be back for the Cork and Clare match reaction when that game finishes up. And yeah, I'll see you all later.